everyone. Welcome to Wealth Edit Wednesday. We're so happy to have Taylor Grant here. Taylor is a practicing attorney, a wife, and a mom, and she's the founder of Poised.co, which is designed to uplift and encourage women to walk in their purpose, poise, style, and confidence. In Poised, you'll find career and style tips, but more importantly, it is an outlet for us to share our hopes, dreams, and goals. So I found Taylor online. I'm like a huge fan and really love that that she's here with us today. So I'm going to make you, hold on, let me just change the one little setting here, spotlight you for everyone. And then we start out, just tell us your story.
Sure. Good morning, everyone. It is so exciting to be here with the Wealth Edit. Like Lauren said, my name is Taylor. I am a practicing attorney in Washington, D.C. I work for a firm called Reed Smith, where I primarily do litigation. I'm also a wife and a new mom. I just had my first kid. She's 5 months old, named Mackenzie. But a little bit about myself. So I've always wanted to be an attorney from a very young age. And I went to college, applied for law school, and did kind of not really a traditional track to law school into my career. For those of you who may be unfamiliar with how to get into a big law firm, things that you see in like television or movies, you are expected to go to like a top 15 law school, like a Harvard or a Stanford, and do like really well in school, be like top 5 in your class, and do all these little things. And I did not do that. My way of getting to where I am today is really different. I didn't go to a top 15 school, still went to a great school. I love University of Maryland, got a good education, wasn't top 5 in my class, but still made good grades. And a lot of people told me that, well, you're not going to be able to practice in a big law firm or be the type of attorney you want to be because you didn't check all the boxes. And of course, that could be discouraging. I am a first-generation attorney, and so I didn't have the knowledge or people who can kind of guide me, give me the guidance that I needed to make the right decisions to kind of create the career that I wanted to always and dreamed of having. So instead of allowing people's limitations of me, their expectations based on my background, my qualifications, limit what I could achieve, I did what people would think was in the impossible, and I got into a big law firm with using my skills and my unique qualities. And so that's kind of what produced and birthed Poised.co, because I wanted to be the I had, from other women who did the opposite of discouraging me. They uplifted me, they encouraged me, and they reminded me that I'm unique and I have a purpose. And so I used Poised.co as an outlet to uplift women and to remind them that there's no one like you. All of us are born for a specific thing, specific purpose that only you are designed to do. And so don't let other people's fears or insecurities limit you, but to go after your dreams with poise and with style and with confidence. And so I'm happy to say that I ended up where I am today, believing and trusting in myself. My faith is very important to me, so that helped me as well. And I hope that I can just do the exact same thing for other women, even if it's just one person I help encourage and uplift and go after their dreams. That just makes my heart smile. But yeah, that's a little bit of what I do. Practicing attorney, love being a new mom, and just trying to bring some bit of light to the world.
Oh, I just love that. And Taylor, I am an attorney as well, or I was an attorney. I guess I still am an attorney. I'm not currently practicing. But, I went through that exact same scenario. Of course, I lived in Alabama. I went to Auburn, went to Alabama Law School. Lauren always asked me how I know at least one person in every room. And I said, if you grow up in Montgomery, go to Auburn and then go to Alabama, meaning if you've lived in the same state your entire life, chances are you're gonna know somebody. But and so, as I went through the whole law school situation, like fighting for that space at the top of the class was like all consuming, because you felt like that was the only way you could get to where you wanted to be. And, I think law school, I've always wanted to talk to somebody about this. I'm so excited you brought it up. At law school, it's a bunch of people that are very like academically charged and
Right.
competitive. So it's like all of a sudden somebody puts this goal in front of you and you just like run towards it because that's what everybody else is doing. And we're all kind of that kind of personality. But then you get there and you're like, is this even what I wanted? Like, I actually
Right.
didn't want to practice in a big law firm, you know what I mean? But you fight for it because that's just kind of like what's going on around you and you feel like that's what you're supposed to do. And I know I've talked to a lot of attorneys, young attorneys, right, you know, recently about really taking a step back and one, not being so hard on yourself, because really only at the time
Yes.
I'm almost 47, so I graduated from law school a long time ago, but you know, back then it was the top 10, you know, you just needed to be in the top 10% of the class and then you could get, those doors would open. And I just said, you know, I have enough, I can look backwards now and see, like, you know, if you just would like give yourself some grace and sit back,
Yes.
just see like where you're naturally inclined to be rather than joining that race that you're not even sure you want to be running. Does that make sense? So I love this and I hear what you're saying. And I think that what you're doing is so needed. And if we can just get in people's heads enough to say, it's okay, you know?
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about the content and like how you're working with these ladies at Poised.
Yes. Yeah, that's a great question. So a lot of the questions that I get is basically kind of give an overview of how I ended up at Reed Smith, which is an AM Law 100 law firm. And so I kind of give them like my own personal expertise, and I don't consider myself an expert in recruiting or anything, but just sharing my story, telling my testimony, and using tools that help me. Like for instance, one thing is judicial clerkships, like a big thing in law school, and a lot of people use the opportunity of working for a judge to kind of get them into a firm, whether it's a big firm or a boutique firm. And so I kind of talk about how I, again, wasn't planning on working at a big law firm or for a judge in law school because people just discouraged me and were like, if you don't have this, this, and that, you might as well just forget about it. So I was like, okay, I don't have that. So I guess I'll try something else, but still ended up exactly needed. So I right out of school and using that as a resource to pivot into the law firm industry as well. Because a lot of people with the law firm, how it works is you have to summer with that firm the summer before your third year of law school. So you kind of go into your third year of law school with a job in hand. And then there's another percentage of us who are still looking for jobs that last year of law school and even after graduation. That was me. I was in the latter. And so I kind of used someone who still got into a big law firm, didn't summer, but still doing pretty well for herself in that big law environment, even though people said you wouldn't do that because you didn't have all of the qualifications and skills. So I provide a lot of resources and tools on what I did, which involves like networking. I think that's like the biggest tip that I offer. I think like one of your biggest assets is who you know. It's funny that you mentioned that you know at least one person in a room wherever you go in Alabama. I think that's so important because I can honestly say any internship position I've had or job, it has been through connections. Of course, it helps to have like, intelligence. I think people consider me a nice person, like I could be a team player and all of that, but so that helps. But everything that I have received has been through connections and people vouching for me. And I think that says a lot. So that's like one of the biggest tips I give to people who reach out to me through Poise. And then another thing I offer is just advice on like style, clothes, what to wear to a job interview, the difference between business casual and business professional, how to look confident on a Zoom call because we're in this virtual work environment.
Well, that's what I was looking at. Like, if you go to poise.co, she's found all these like awesome, like here's an awesome kind of biker jacket that you would think, I mean, maybe that's more weekend wear, but it actually looks as good as the one I have. And it's from H&M. And I'm like, I'm just going to start shopping on your site, you know? I mean, that's better, I think. And your
Yes.
pictures are so beautiful. So how have you, so a lot of people on here have like aspirations for, bringing their brand online, and it feels like you've done that successfully. So do you have any tips on like building your email list or anything that you feel like you've done well? I mean, your photographs are so beautiful. Who does those for you?
Thank you. It's actually a mix, but I will say 90% of the time, my husband takes my photos.
That's
So,
Is he a photographer? Because they're beautiful.
Yeah. What kind of
no,
camera do you use?
I use my phone, and then I use the Canon. Oh gosh, what number is it? I think it's like T800 or something. It's just a regular camera, but my husband is the type of guy, like, he thinks he could do anything, which I admire his confidence in himself. So he'll like go on YouTube University and figure it out. Like he'll research how to take great,
That's awesome.
good quality photos, and he gets it done. So it's great to have him in my corner, because that saves me a lot of money with hiring a photographer. But my biggest advice of just getting your brand online is just start. For me, like, I think it took longer for me to get online and to be where I am because I'm a perfectionist. I'm like that typical type A Capricorn that you hear about, like, and so I stopped myself from even doing it sooner because I'm like, it doesn't look perfect. Oh, I should have said this differently. And once I just got over that fear, and I think it is just a protection mechanism for me putting myself out there, because that can be scary, putting yourself out there on the internet and being vulnerable and transparent. But once I got over that fear and just did it, regardless if it wasn't perfect, that's when I started getting a following. That's when I kind of, was having fun with it and started building my community, seeing what type of content people were enjoying, content that I was enjoying to write about and to share about. So that is just my biggest tip, is to just start, just do it. You can always learn from your mistakes. Like, I'm still learning today. I look back at the end of every month at my Instagram, at my blog. Oh, what could I have done differently? What were my audience enjoying? And I should continue doing. Always do that at the end of the month to give myself some feedback. But once I got over that fear and just did it, it's been so much fun. So that would be my biggest piece of advice for anybody who's trying to start a brand on the internet.
Yeah, I think that's a good word. I mean, I think sometimes we just freeze up in front of the camera and we like tell ourselves these stories like, oh, I'm not good at that, or I don't like that. And really maybe it will embarrass us for a period of time just while we're getting used to it, because it's just something that we're uncomfortable with. And but if people are just themselves on the internet as they're building the brand, I mean, that's what people, I think, want to see these days. I think we're moving from an area where it was like these perfectly curated, scenes like you're in a movie on Instagram, to now it's a little bit more realistic. Like, what's going on in your life? Like we've all been through this collective grief through this pandemic. And I think people really want to see like fun, but also realistic things. And have you been also growing your email list, or how do you think you grow the best in your experience?
Yeah, I kind of been measuring my growth more so on Instagram, and then tried to convert my followers over to email. So I will say the way that I use my brand, I use Instagram as my main platform, and kind of my blog as like a diary, kind of, in a sense, where I can be a little bit more transparent, just because I have a bigger word limit than Instagram gives me. Yes. So that's where I like share more in-depth knowledge. Like, I can go into more detail about ways you can network, for instance, that I couldn't really share on social media. So that's kind of where my focus is when it comes to growing my following. And I think it's great that you mentioned that, Lauren, because even on Instagram about like being your authentic self, I've noticed that I've connected with more people when I'm sharing those like real behind the scenes of myself, of my family. People love seeing my daughter. They don't really care that much about me now that she's here, which is fine because she's awesome. But she's like sharing glimpses into my family,
She's
Thank
adorable.
you. She's
Oh my
so
goodness.
fun. I love her so much.
How, and you think about it, even,
but yeah, that's where my focus is.
and I'm just thinking about, the networking component of this too. I mean, I think that so much of like what you're doing now is creating eventually, like a real natural networking avenue for you, because, it's no connection is a bad connection. We talk about this all the time. We're meeting people and like, it's just a good connection. There's no real ulterior motive. It's, we're thankful to meet these people and hopefully, but it's so interesting how like putting yourself out there, committing yourself to networking, even if it's not as strategic as it needs to be, sometimes it's just like, yes, I just want to meet people in my community rather than
Right.
I'm trying to meet just attorneys or whatever it is. I think now I'm like, looking at Instagram and kind of listening to your message, I see that, eventually like Instagram is now like a real viable component to networking.
Mhm.
So when you're helping people, I'm thinking about those people that hear what you're saying, but think, I don't have connections like that. My family, either they grew up on another, side of the country or have not had a, professional background with their parents. How do you talk to people who don't really have like a natural network?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say I was kind of in a similar boat, at least especially when it comes to my career, because I was a first generation lawyer. So no one in my family could connect me to other lawyers or can give me the knowledge that I needed to be successful in law school and as a practicing attorney. And so I had to build my own network of attorneys outside of my family and friends. And so those who may think that they don't have that network within their family, I say the network expands to like there's like different types of networks. I always say like look at you and the people you meet with, the people that you know. For me, like my network consists of people who went to my undergrad and my law school. So if you went to school or even high school, like all of us at least went to high school maybe. So like that can be a network. Your friends may know someone. My husband has connected me to so many people just through his own network. So who you know on a personal level, different organizations that you may be a part of. For example, I'm a part of a sorority. And so that's like another big network that I can use. And then again, like social media is one of the biggest networking platforms. We have LinkedIn, where you can just search that you think are in the type of career field that you're interested in, or you can just browse and use hashtags on Instagram to find bloggers, to find whatever you're looking for and reaching out. I think a lot of people are using social media more as a way to network and to connect. I mean, that's how you and I met, over social media. And so I think anybody who is, who's struggling with networking, like use what you have already. Just think about who you know now, what tools you have already, and use those to your advantage. And I think starting with that and taking those baby steps, you're able to grow your network more fuller and expand your network to use it for your advantage.
I totally agree. And I think another thing that's helped us here is like being the connector. It really is fulfilling to know, like through your own networking journey, to if this person would really benefit from knowing this other person and connecting them meaningfully. I feel like that has been such a game changer, and just the way that we relate to one another. And it's just such a generous stance. I see a lot of things on the internet right now. They're like, set boundaries, or like, I don't have time to talk to this person. I saw this like horrifying TikTok where this woman like calls this other woman for advice. And she's like, I can't do that for you, but I have a podcast. And it's like, while we can't talk to everyone, it's not going to kill anybody to spend 5 minutes with them and like try to point them in the right direction, And I think about all the times in my career where someone has done that for me when I came vulnerably, and how crushing it could be if the answer was like, I don't have time for you, I'm too busy and too important. I just think that we all need to help each other where we can. And taking that stance has maybe some people would say it was foolish, but we have found it to be extremely fulfilling.
Mhm.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. I love being the connector. And when you see it work out, it's just I'm like, yay. Like, that's why I'm like the biggest
Yes.
cheerleader. Like, I'm so happy it worked out. I knew it. This is great. I think being a connector is just as important as you reaching out and trying to build your network.
Yeah.
Share the love. It's important.
It really is.
Well, and I think as soon as people, it's interesting, it's sort of the concept of paying it forward. It's like once somebody does it for you, we're all so much more likely to do it for someone else. I mean,
Yeah.
you realize the importance of that. And also, again, just like the more people you meet with, we had a Wealth Edit speaker not too long ago that said that every time she ended a networking meeting, she always asked, is there anyone you can think of that I should meet with? And
Yes.
and she said that was just has always led to like such helpful meetings. It was the Addison Bay.
Oh, she's so great.
She was great. And
Oh.
she had worked at Lilly and, but that's how she ended up at Lilly. That's how she then ended up launching her own brand, and she said that has just been a mainstay of her networking. And that it's like she always finds her next meeting just by asking that person who else she should meet with. And she's like, almost always they have someone in mind. And I think that it's fantastic advice. So tell us what's next for Poised. I mean, as you like dream of what this would be in the future, where do you see it going?
Yeah, I'm hoping to create a community where kind of like a mentor-mentee relationship where people can sign up for Poise and I give them kind of like a playbook on how to get through law school and how to matriculate through the legal profession as well.
Mhm.
Again, this is just all things that I'm sharing from my own personal experience because I feel like I don't know. I feel like my experience is, even though it's unique, I feel like a lot of people in my position are going through similar things. People telling them no, or not yet, or you're unqualified. And I just really want to help people and remind themselves, like to give yourselves grace. That's like one of my favorite words, by the way, grace, and to remember that you can do it. Like you can achieve the impossible, and don't allow other people's limitations and insecurities project them onto you. If you have these big dreams, go for it. And I'm going to be that coach, or so kind of be like a coaching type of community where I will have monthly check-ins with them to go over, say, like their application materials for internships or for scholarships, or just if you need someone to just brainstorm and strategize what you should do in law school, what organizations and courses you should take. You're graduating, what should I do next? So that's my next big thing with Poise, is to kind of create a more intimate community that is a coach, student, mentor, mentee type of vibes. Hopefully I explained that well.
Yeah, Taylor, I love hearing that because and you brought up sorority rush or recruitment earlier, being in a sorority. And my mom is on this call today, Belle, and Belle Sadler can get someone ready for recruitment. She knew all of the things that there were things that I needed to do, and she knew exactly. And we take that for granted, right? That like, if you have someone that's been through it before, that person can really give you some clues to set you up for success. And it sounds like you're really that bridge for your audience. And that's something that is extremely valuable, to have someone that's been able to navigate it, maybe in a non-traditional way, where there are some things that maybe, like to your point, they're hearing feedback like you're not qualified, and to push through that and say, okay, there are other avenues if this is your dream. Emily and I have both seen this movie American Underdog like 3 times. We love it. And so anyway, but I'm like, I feel that, like you feel that, like if someone tells you no, that is not the end of the story. And and for women to push through, it is really, really extremely valuable. So what you're building is just huge. So anyway, I can't believe our time is already, like, we're at the end of the call, but I wanted to say, we always ask our guests, first of all, thank you so much for just being on here today. And what's the best way for people to get in touch with you and connect and follow your journey?
Yes, so you can follow me on social media. On Instagram, I am at Taylor_Grants18. You can always subscribe to Poise at www.poise.co. Or if you want to send me an email, which is also available on both my blog and Instagram, my email is Taylor, Taylor, period, F as in Franklin, .grants@gmail.com. So all of those,
Awesome.
I will definitely respond.
Wonderful. Well, our last question for all of our guests is, why did you say yes to the Wealth Edit? And we're so glad that you did.
Yes, I said yes to the Wealth Edit because I am a huge advocate of financial literacy. And I think it's important for women to educate themselves about their finances and to learn how to make money work for them and not work for money, which is something I think we're taught of, like you have to work in order to have some type of income and have some type of finance. But I think that's easier said than done. And I think it can be difficult to know where to start or what questions to ask if you haven't been taught the importance of financial education. And so having a platform like the Wealth Edit that focuses on that and that can answer those taboo questions and provide guidance on how you can build your assets and how you can increase your income and build your finances. I think that is great and super important.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for being here. I see what you're doing. I think it is so needed, and I'm so excited to know about this resource. So thank you.
Yes.
Yes.
And we'll talk to you again.
Yes, absolutely. Have a great day.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. You too. Bye, everybody.
Bye.